Great. It's being recorded. Okay, cool. So he has reached the rank of executive vice president with the Alliance, which is a huge deal, guys. This is the kind of rank where Andy's leaning on these guys to train, to spread knowledge to the rest of the company. He's mentoring not just his team, but he's helping out lots of teams. This is huge. It also speaks volumes to the size of his team, which is a really big deal with this guy. He is not just a huge producer with the Alliance, which I'm pretty sure he did over about 170K so far in personal production this year, which is insane. So insane. But he's a huge builder. He's got one of the biggest, fastest growing teams in the Alliance. So we can definitely learn a lot from him. What else? He is very knowledgeable on all aspects of this business, which is key, especially when it comes to one of the topics we're going to be talking tonight about, which is policy reviews. So key to your business for maintaining clients, finding new premium, earning money after that initial policy, which is big. And he's going to speak a lot about that. He's had great success with the concept of policy reviews. So without further ado, Mr. Joe Dukes, did you make the call, sir?
This is where I'm here. Yeah. Yay! You're awesome. I will pay you later. That was a great introduction. Yeah. I appreciate that. I'm like, yeah. I don't think I have enough money in my pocket to pay her for that one. That was a good one. So
no, thank you so much for taking. You are a busy man. I really appreciate. I know I speak for the whole team when I say Nick and Dan and everybody, Rachel, Dave, Mike. We're so appreciative of you taking the time out of your week to come and pour some knowledge into us. You've had tons of success with the Alliance, obviously. Would you mind just starting off talking about and sharing a little bit of your story sure. And how you came to where you're at now?
Sure. Well, I do want to thank Nick and Rachel and all the leaders on your guys' team for reaching out and asking me to do this. It's a big honor. I mean, it's interesting. It's one of those things that you never think that you're going to get asked to do something like this. And when someone reaches out and asks you, hey, would you mind, spending a few minutes with my team and helping them out? It's one of the things I love to do and it's cool because I was actually talking to Nick earlier today and I was just sharing some ideas that I had with him. And I realized every time, so if you ever get asked to talk on a subject, Andy told me this. He says, it's either because you know a lot about it or you can do better at it. And I think, and the crazy thing is I know quite a bit about this subject, but I know I can get better at it even now. So it was a great reminder to me. So again, my name's Joseph Dukes. I was hired 16 years ago by my friend Paul, who is direct to Mike and Noah Leventovich. I live in South Ogden, Utah, so just a little bit north of Salt Lake. So right now it's Christmas time, so we got about 2 feet of snow in the last 2 days. So it's been a great time here, digging myself out, going into the office. So my background, I wasn't in insurance. I'd been in the grocery world. I'd stacked apples for a living as a produce guy for about 12 years, and then moved to Phoenix. I grew up in Alaska, so I did that in Alaska, and then moved to Phoenix, got in the mortgage business, and then had Paul reach out to me, my friend Paul Epstein, reach out to me and talk to me about insurance. And I'm just grateful that the thing Paul did was that he asked me, like probably all of you were asked, hey, if you were warm market, hey, this is something I'm looking at doing. You want to come with me? And I told him no. And I'm super grateful to Paul that he didn't listen to me, that he went ahead and it was his dream, and he went ahead and charged forward anyway. And then he was just really smart because he kept working, number one, because if he would have quit, I never would have come on board. He didn't stop and wait for me. And then the other thing that he did was that he introduced me to Mike Leventovich, and then to Andy Albright. And so that was a big thing for me. And when I came on board, I had zero knowledge in insurance. When I got here, I didn't have my insurance license. I couldn't spell insurance, so let alone talk to people about it. So back then we had 2 carriers and 3 products. And the only lead that we had was a mortgage protection lead, and no internet leads. I mean, it was just, and it's so funny right now. I'm feeling like I'm talking like my grandfather. You don't understand how hard it was back in the day. But the cool thing is that when I started in Phoenix, it was literally just me and Paul. I lived in Phoenix at the time. I was on one end of Phoenix. Paul was on the other. We were about 70 miles between the two of us. We were the only agents in Arizona, and really there weren't that many agents out in the Western U.S. So it was kind of just figuring stuff out as we went. And I when I was reached out and asked to talk about what we're about as well, my brain is one of those things when you have a brain fart. When Rachel reached out and asked me to talk about basically not warm market but policy reviews and how to do this, and then I talked to Nick about it today, I realized, Aaron, that it's not just, I know we want to say, well, hey, I've only been here, I've been here 2 days. What do policy reviews have to do with me? I literally haven't even written my first policy. Why am I on this call? And it's interesting because policy reviews actually start when you first sit down with your client on your very, very, very first sit down. You make your phone call and you sit down and talk to, and you book the appointment, you go sit down with the client. We are in a relationship business. We're in a people business. And so it's one of the reasons I love what we get to do face to face, is because it's not just about that one sale. It's not just about sitting it, and I jokingly call it a one night stand. It's not hitting it and quitting it. It's not like, hey, I got me a client, I wrote the app and I'm out the door. And now there have been times that I've done that. I'm just like, man, I'm grateful that I got the sale and I ran out the door to run to my next appointment. But I realized very quickly that there's this thing called placement and persistency that is very, very important. And if you haven't watched Andy Albright's training on placement and persistency, it's on YouTube. You need to watch it, because it really, if you're helping a bunch of clients, but your clients are falling off as fast as you're writing them, then really that's just not good. It's just not good business. And truthfully, if you do that long enough, the insurance company will actually fire you. So, and more importantly for me, I would fire myself, because if I'm just trying to play catch up every week, hey, I wrote 3,000 in business and $2,000 of it fell off, so really I only made $1,000. That is just not good. So, and the reason I talk about that, guys, is because this is, if you're in this for the long haul, this is about building a relationship with your client and about helping them not just today, but being more forward thinking about not just how you're going to help them today, but how you're going to help them in 5 years, how they're going to refer you to their friends and family. And when they're ready to retire, you're going to get that call that says, hey, I don't know if you remember me, but when you sat down with me a number of years ago, you told me that you could help me with my retirement. And I'm going to talk a little bit about how to get there, but understanding that it all starts when you're with the client the very first time. And when you let them know, hey, listen, I'm your guy, I'm your girl. I'm glad I'm here to help you today. And I'm going to sit down with you about every 18 to 24 months. This is going to be an ongoing relationship. Like, I'm going to give you my number. In fact, I'm going to send you a text right now with my phone number. I'm going to send you a text with a selfie. Like, I take selfies with my clients and I send them a selfie of me and them. I have an electronic business card with a QR code on it that actually has, if they take a picture of that, it'll take them to the Department of Insurance in Utah and they can see my insurance license. I have all the states that I'm licensed in. I have all my insurance license numbers on my e-business card. And it's just a picture I have saved in my phone. I send it to them. So do they ever look at it? I don't know, but it makes me feel better. It's the other reason why whenever I write a policy, I love the material that the carriers give us. I love Foresters, I love CFG, I love Mutual of Omaha. They all have great customer service, but I also love the fact that I can get free, I'll just call it swag from them. I can get free folders and brochures and product, pamphlets and stuff like that. If you've ever bought a car, you know that when you go into a car dealership and buy a car, like, you don't leave with just the car. Like, you got stuff that they gave you. They given you hats and pens and crap, and you always walk out with like a a brochure and a pamphlet on the vehicle and stuff. And so I like to leave people with stuff with my business cards in it. And because there's a lot of competition out there. There's a lot of competition out there just in our world, not necessarily not within the alliance, because I will tell you is that the one of the things I love about our company is that, like, if you're in, because I have clients in Denver, if I'm running in Denver, I have someone on my team running in Denver and they run behind Nick, and they're like, and they just happen to call someone, and maybe Nick got got it as an A lead, and this other agent, just happened to, they just crossed paths, and they just happened to, Nick helped him first, and then, my guy shows up and they say, hey, you know what, this guy came over and his name's Nick, and he helped us out. Well, I know for a fact that my guy's going to call Nick. He's probably going to call me first and go, what do I do? And I'm going to say, hey, bro, here's Nick's number. Call him and tell him that you're with his client, and that, edify Nick. Tell him that, hey, Nick's a great guy and I know he's going to take good care of you. Get Nick on the phone while you're sitting there with a client, edify Nick in front of the client, and then, tell Nick, hey man, they'd be great if you came back and you saw these guys because they really enjoyed your conversation. So it's like, that's what we do here. If you've ever come from another sales company, they will cut your throat for $1. Like, they would throw your ass under the bus in a minute. And to think, and then knowing this, there are other insurance organizations out there. We aren't the only ones sending leads out. And I don't know and so you're going to have a client that literally gets our lead, and people copy what we do. We are so good at what we do at the Alliance that they literally have stolen and copied our direct mail lead, and they've altered it enough so legally it's not plagiarism. But the deal is that they're sending those same things out, and people get confused. They're like, oh, I filled out the same thing 4 times. No, they didn't. They filled out 4 different companies' leads. You just happen to be the luckiest one that got there first. So they have somebody else calling behind. So this is why it's important that you build that relationship with the client right up front. Because if you aren't building a strong relationship with a client, they will, unfortunately, people get confused. Like, we are really good at training people. There are other companies that are really good at training people on the phone too. And so if they're really good at training people to get in the home, and the person that you just helped 3 days ago thinks that, oh, well, it's that nice guy, he's coming back over, they don't recognize your name. Truthfully, they don't even remember your name. But when you go, when that person shows up and all he does is talk junk about you and undermines you, and so if you haven't left them your card and the information from the carrier and detailed instructions, and you've let the client know, hey, listen, if anyone else calls you, if anyone else comes back over, make sure you call me. Make sure you call me, because I'm going to be your guy for life. I'm going to be your guy that takes care of you. Because if you have not built that relationship, that's when people, you magically get that cancellation notice in the mail, 3 days after your policy gets issued. And it's because somebody else came back there. So I was telling Nick that the first part of the policy review starts with the policy delivery. Now, I will say this, I do not have the insurance company send me the policies. I don't. I always have the insurance company send the policies to the client. But there are some great tools. President's Club has so many cool tools that we can use. That they have a card system that you can be a part of, where you literally can set up that you can send your client a card. Hey, thanks for being my client. So glad to have you part of my family, and congratulations on your policy. When you write an application, I would recommend that you call the client the day after. Hey man, I just want to let you know that application submitted. Cool thing is, with most of our carriers now, like we can get policies issued in a matter of minutes. Like, I sat down with a client here on Saturday night, and it got instant issued 5 minutes after I submitted the app. So I was able to tell the client right there, hey, great news, your policy's approved. It's going to get drafted the first part of the week. But for those times when it's going to say, hey, it needs review, it's going to take 24 hours, you want to call the client when that policy gets issued. You want to call the client. You want to call the client, and you want to let them know, hey, great news. Aaron, hey, it's Joseph Dukes. Hey, your insurance guy. Hey, great news. I just want to let you know that your policy got issued. Looks like that first draft is going to come out here in the next 24 to 72 hours. Just keep an eyeball out for it. It'll be from Columbian Financial or Foresters or whoever it's with. And then say, hey, and you're going to get the policy in the mail here in about the next 10 days. Can you do me a favor? It's going to be a big packet. When you get it in the mail, can you please just give me a call? You have my number. I texted you my number. So can you call me, or can you shoot me a text and just let me know, hey, Joseph, the policy's in the mail, or the policy's here. When can you come over? Now, I will tell you, 90% of the time, they will not call. They will get the policy in the mail and they'll think, oh, I got to call that insurance guy back, because they still don't remember my name. And hey, I got to call the insurance guy back and have him come back over. But it sits on their coffee table and sits on their coffee table, and more mail gets stacked on it. And then the kids spill spaghetti on it. And then like 10 other things happen. And then it's 6 months from now, and they finally just clear all the crap off the coffee table and it goes into a drawer. And the problem is that if I never went back there, then I haven't completed the job that I told them I was going to do. Because I told them I was going to come back and go over their policy with them. Hey, when we get this policy issued, I'm gonna come back over. We're gonna make sure it's the right thing. We're gonna go over it with you and just make sure we get any questions answered. So since I'm not expecting them to call me, I put it in my calendar. So, we all have these wonderful phone things. Google Calendar is an awesome calendar. I just put it in there on, 10 days. It's between 10 and 14 days after the policy gets issued. On my next dial day, I put it in there, call Aaron for policy delivery. And then I just call her and say, hey, Aaron, hey, it's Joseph. Just wanted to make sure you got that policy in the mail. Yep, we got it here. I've been meaning to call you. Hey, cool. Hey, listen, my schedule is really tight, but I do have some time because I'm running appointments the next day because it's my dial day. So the next 2 days, I'm going to be running appointments. Hey, I have time in the next couple of days. My schedule is tight, but when are you available for me to stop by and spend a couple minutes with you? Now, why do I do that? Number one is to lock in that first sale. Number one. Now, number two, I write a lot of indexed universal life. I love tax-free retirement. I love annuities. I love the secondary sales. I was told one time that 25%, that 50% of my business was going to be created through secondary sales, because Aaron, that first $500 hit or that $1,000 that you make by sitting down with a client the first time, that's awesome, but it's really not that's the low hanging fruit. Really, it's we're trying to get higher up in the tree and the sweeter fruit, but we got to get past that low hanging fruit first. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people that are, and there's companies out there that talk about this. Hey, all we do is, we just do one thing, and we are final expense people, and that's all they do. And we do it all virtually, and there's nothing else that we do. And I'm like, man, there's so much there's so much left on the table. There's so much meat on the bone that's left over if you just would ask, and if you just be willing to serve. Mm-hmm. So by going back out there, that's when I've completed what I promised them I was going to do. I told them, hey, listen, I'm going to come back and help you out. Well, I've earned their trust a little bit more. So at that point on that policy delivery, hey, I've done the ERS, right? I've done the green sheet. Well, I can bring my green sheet, my ERS back on that policy delivery, and I can make sure, hey, have I called on their ERSs? If anyone's wondering what the heck I'm talking about, ERS, that's the emergency response system. That's free leads, guys, number one. And that's another way to serve your client. Yesterday, I got a call from a client of mine from 4 years ago, and from her granddaughter. My client died. In fact, my client was the president of the Foresters chapter here in Utah. Wow. And she had been for like 25 years. And I became friends with her, and she's a cool lady. She actually had written her own policies, and she asked me to be the agent of record for all the policies that she'd written on her kids and her grandkids on her. So it was just cool knowing that, hey, I had gone through and I talked to all of her kids and her grandkids, and they knew how to get in touch with me. So that was why they called me. But now I'm going back here this week, and I'm doing policy reviews. I'm doing 7 policy reviews on children, grandchildren, cousins, uncles, and everybody. But if I hadn't done that ERS, I wouldn't have been able to do that. So when you're going back and sitting down on policy delivery, it's a great time to do the ERS. It's a great time to go back through it. And people that you hadn't been able to reach, it's a good, hey, can you send them a reminder text? Can you send them, hey, my insurance guy, Joseph Dukes, is going to call you. He's adding you to my emergency contact list. Please take his phone call. And then I can go back through their green sheet. And I know, guys, I'm throwing a lot at you here. This is going to be recorded, but then you can go back through the green sheet, and the majorities of IULs I've written this year have either been on policy deliveries or on policy reviews.
Wow.
So that first policy review really is the policy delivery. It really is. It's where you're going back and you're going over what they have, and you're making sure, hey, number one, does this fit in the budget? And the crazy thing is this, is I know, and I'm just going to speak from personal experience, I'm scared. I'm scared that they're going to cancel. I'm scared that they're going to go, actually, we've had second thoughts. Jesus spoke to us last week and says we don't need the insurance. We're going to get the rapture. We aren't going to die. It's going to be great. And like, that's a fear. And so like I had to overcome the fear and just be like, hey, what if they say, actually, I'm so glad you came over, because when we sat down, this $80 a month we knew was going to be comfortable, but really we went back to the budget in the last 2 weeks and we really wanted that $150 a month, but we had to go back through the budget, and yes, it fits. We'd really like to increase it.
Wow.
Hallelujah.
Right.
Dude, and you will not have that happen unless you're willing to go back in. It will not happen. You will not get that weird random call unless you're willing to go back in and be vulnerable and just say, hey, I'm here to help you. So that first policy review, we're going back and we're making sure, the beneficiaries are right. We're making sure the face amount's right. We're making sure they're super clear on it. And then I'm giving them another one of my cards, and I'm asking them for more referrals at that point. Why? Because I just earned it. Guys, we have great lead system, but the best leads are still referrals, and you go back and you serve them again. And then that's when I'm talking to them about, hey, on here, we had talked about that you have a 401k that you're putting money into. So that's the time I start asking them about, about their retirement plan, depending upon how old they are. I start opening up the door to talking to them about IULs and tax-free retirement. Now, if anyone's confused on what I'm talking about well, how do I learn about IULs and tax-free retirement and annuities? We have so many books. There are so many books. There are so many resources in NAA University. There's Tax-Free Retirement by Patrick Kelly, Retirement Miracle by Patrick Kelly. There's, I'm trying to remember the name of the book that I helped co-author that we use here for IULs. It's Save Smarter, Not Harder. That's the name of the book. It's a great tool. Like there's a ton of material that you can learn if you want to learn about product and you want to learn how can I fit this stuff in. And then the other great way to learn is any major event. Now, our next major event that we have coming up is National Convention. It's here in about 5 weeks in Dallas. Like you want to get around the people who are writing a ton, hey, how do I learn about IULs? How do I learn about annuities? Well, there's a bunch of people that are doing it. That's how you learn. So the first step to policy reviews really is that first policy delivery. Aaron, does that make sense?
Yeah. And remind us, how many days after are you doing that? You said
I am putting it in my calendar 10 to 14 days after the policy gets issued, because I gotta wait, because the insurance company. Oh, and then the other thing is I'm making sure that it, like with Foresters, if you're doing an e-app, make sure that you're choosing paper policy. Mm-hmm. You are not having it sent electronically. The insurance companies would love to send all their stuff out electronically. It's going to save them a bunch of money. It's going to save them a bunch of headaches. It's going to save them printing costs. I mean, it's really, at the end of the day, it's just saving them money. Right. But truth is that nobody is going to print off an 82-page policy, and nobody keeps all of their emails that long. It's like, well, in 27 years when I die, I can go back into my email and find, no, it's gone. It's out of the ethers at that point. So it takes them about 10 days to print, package, and mail the policy, and then they'll get the policy in the mail.
Perfect. Great. So you do that first initial policy review, right? Yep. You get with them, you're going over the ERS, right? And the green sheet that they did at that time, which and then you're also going over the entire policy, right? Beneficiaries, was everything correct? It's just like all the I's were dotted correctly, um, things like that. So then from there, what are you doing? Are we putting them in the calendar for X amount of time later? Are you letting
That's a
what are you
great
doing from
question.
them?
Prior to Robbie Kraft and Andy creating the ARC and creating
Mm-hmm.
our awesome CRM, guys, we have the most bad to bone CRM in the entire universe. And we don't, I mean, like literally, I had agents that were paying $300 to $500 a month for a Salesforce CRM
Yeah.
that it was awesome. But the problem is that then they were having to pay staff to put the information in, and they were having. I mean, it was just like it was like it was a mess. And so with our CRM, my Today tab is my favorite tab.
Yeah.
My Today tab, it tells me when I have birthdays.
Yep.
Hey, we can send them birthday cards. Another President's Club, you can send them birthday cards. In fact, if you talk to Clay Murtis at President's Club, Clay can help you set up a customized, like, hey, I want to send every new client a welcome card. I want to send them a congratulations on, happy birthday card. I want to send them an annual review card. I want to send them a 2-year reminder card. I mean, like there's a bunch of different things. I want to be able to send them customized information on IULs or on tax-free retirement or on retirement planning or on rollovers or things like that. So there's a lot of tools, but that CRM is so cool because it actually tells you when it's time for a 6-month review. It tells you when it's time for a 12-month review. It's time. Conversions, it tells you when it's time to talk conversions. That happens at year 2. So at year 2, when Foresters, Mutual Omaha, CFG, it's going to tell you. So like use your Today tab. I use my Today tab a ton. And then the cool part is that if you're and everyone here is 2 years or less. I know everyone on this call is 2 years or less. So the time to start using your Today tab is now.
Mm-hmm.
And start to get used to using it. Because the cool thing is that the more you can get your face in front of your client, the more they remember you, the better off it is. So they're going to be looking to you. So I look at doing a policy review. Typically, I'm going to do a 6-month review when that 6-month reminder comes up. Hey, has anything changed? I'm going to do a 12-month review. Hey, is everything okay? Now, I'm not typically going to convert stuff, but I'm understanding that those initial 2, they may be over the phone. They may be face to face. Now if they're because I have clients in 6 states. So a lot of my clients, I mean, I live in Utah, but I have a lot of clients in Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, Utah, Nevada, everywhere. So so the deal for me is that if they're local, then I'm going to try to go to them. But and for those initial ones, it may be just a short, half-hour appointment. Hey, going in, high five, is everything okay? How are you doing? Cool. Hey, has everything changed? Like I know that we're all looking for but I can't convert the policy until I'm in year 2 because I don't get paid on a conversion. Now, conversion is when you change your term policy to a permanent policy. Foresters and Moo and CFG let us do that, but we can't do it until after the 2nd year. But that's not really what you're looking for. You're looking for anything new going on in their life. Like there's a lot of people that when you met with them a year ago, they didn't have a baby. The night after you left, they conceived their child. Congratulations. You were the catalyst to the beginning of their family. And now they're like, well, crap, we got a baby. So now we need to be thinking about stuff like that. And you're like, now, hey, you know what? There's a lot. Hey, I can put a tax-free retirement plan on the kid. I can put, we can start, hey, oh yeah, we just bought another house. Oh, we refinanced our home. Since I came over or since you came over and saw us last. Like it's just a matter of finding out what's new in their life, not what can I sell them.
And when you're calling, dumb it down for us. Like if you're calling on those 6-month reviews, what are you saying on the phone? Because I know a lot of people here, they're like, hey, like, like I know when I first started doing my policy reviews, I was like, you good? Like, I don't really know what else to say to you. What are you saying on the phone to get them to want to talk to you more about what's going on or if anything's changed or
Right. Well, because they don't, I mean, I know you're looking to like you said, you don't know what to say. And
Mhm.
so what do? We look to the client. Is there anything you need? Like, what the hell does the client know? The client didn't know that they needed you in the first place. Like, you're
Exactly.
just right. So you're like,
Tell me.
so how are you feeling? I think I need my appendix removed. That's what I think. Um,
I need an
so
IUL. I just know
right,
I
right.
need an
Yeah,
IUD.
I need a then they say an IUD. No, this is not birth control, man. This is financial money making.
Uh,
Um, but yeah, the conversation on all these is like, Aaron, hey, it's Joseph, your Forrester's agent. Hey, I was just giving you a quick shout. How you guys doing? Oh, we're doing great. Hey, awesome. Hey, I don't know if you remember, but I told you that when I sat down, we did that we were gonna do policy reviews, and it's time for our required review. So I was just letting you know that it was that time. So the key words here, and so I have staff that book my policy reviews. But for the longest time, I booked my own policy reviews. But before I had staff, it was just me. So I had to figure out, well, what am I going to say to these people? And so if your staff's doing it, it's like, hey, Aaron, it's Leighton from Joe Duke's office, your Forrester's agent. Hey, he wanted me to reach out to you and let you know it's time for your required review, and you just need to set up a few minutes to chat with you guys. What's your calendar looking like the next, here tomorrow, the next day? Is it going to be easier for him to catch you earlier in the day or later in the day? So it's really the same as booking any other appointment. Like, she's not going to ask, are you available at 7 o'clock? Because she's trying to get you to say yes. So
Mhm.
if you can get someone to say yes, 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 it's like, hey, great. Is it going to be earlier in the day or later in the day? Well, so it's a funnel. Well, early. Okay, early like 9 or early like 11. Oh, early like 9. Okay, great. So 9 o'clock, and your address is still 1234 Hickamore Street, right? Yes. Okay, great. You remember he's still the good looking bald guy in the gray Toyota. Awesome. It's cold outside. He's going to be wearing his black cowboy hat because it's cold. And don't stick the chihuahuas on him. And I got you in this calendar. It's the same deal. So
Perfect.
it's the big funnel. We kind of bring the big funnel down to the narrow funnel as we time in. But it's the required review, because you're going to have people that after a while that may say, hey, do we have to do this? Why do we have to do this? Oh, hey, it's not a big deal. It's just a required review. It's just, it's one of the things that they like to do to make sure that everything's up to date. And, like, there are a lot of free benefits that a lot of people don't know about that are in their policy that Joseph needs to make sure he goes over with you. So keywords like free benefits, because you have your member benefits with Foresters, you have your living benefits with Foresters, you have your living benefits on a lot of policies, which is your critical and chronic benefit. And then, hell, even if they don't have critical and chronic, even the final expense have terminal. So there's still free benefits, you
Mhm.
know. And then what's the best free benefit that they have? They got you, baby. Like, ain't nobody got you but your client. So your client is lucky to have you. The fact that 99% of the insurance agents out there never call their client ever again. It's like, hey, when did you get this policy? Oh, like 10 years ago. I'm like, when was the last time you talked to the client? When he came out and sold it to me. I'm like, wow, that's customer service right there.
Mhm.
You know, so so if it's, and it doesn't matter whether it's a 6 month review, a 1 year review. I have, and this is embarrassing, but I have clients I literally have not talked to in like 12 years. And I find that I'm like going through my Foresters, because you can download a spreadsheet of all your Foresters clients. And so I have like 1,000 Foresters clients I'm going through, and I'm like, wow, I don't think I've ever talked to this one. I have notes that I've tried to, but I literally call them up and I had a couple tonight that I spoke to that I wrote in 2009,
Wow.
and I had not talked to them since 2009. And when we were talking, she's like, her beneficiaries were jacked up. Like, and she's like, yeah, we were supposed to meet and do your and after we got the policy. And I'm like, wow, I am really sorry. I'm just gonna that was totally my fault. And she's like, I mean, I didn't deflect. I owned it. And she's like, oh, no, no, I remember I canceled the appointment. and then we were going to reschedule and it just never happened. So no worries. But it was just like, it was one of those things that I'm like, it's a reminder that people remember stuff like that.
Yeah.
They remember when you tell them, hey, listen, I'm your guy and I'm going to show up and I'm going to be back here. And they were super. I mean, it's taken me about a month to get to book this appointment. We've rescheduled it 4 times, but it was cool because now we're 14 years into their policy, and almost 14 years. And they're looking at converting their policies now because their life is way different after 14 years. They're like, well, we're going to retire in 10 years. We don't have any other policies. And so, yeah, it was, now we're having tough conversations, but I'm like, hey, I can turn you on to an estate planner to help you with your trust. I can, there's a lot of things I can help them with. But again, it's being willing to make that phone call and earn that trust. There is, guys, that I promise you, there is hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars that you will make by serving your current clients.
That's awesome.
I mean, hundreds. My daughter, bless her heart, my youngest got her license when she was 18. She's 21 now. She let her license lapse because she wanted to go to school. Well, she was so awesome that I have 3 of her clients that called me up and said, oh, we love Lily. She's so awesome. And we're so sad to hear that she didn't, that she's not working with you anymore. But we know that she said that if she couldn't help, that you would. So I've written 3 IULs totaling about 10,000 in target premium. And then I've written about 300,000 in annuities and 2 Medicare plans from those policy reviews from my which would be an orphan client. So you're going to hire agents that aren't going to be there, that are going to, hey, they're going to be here for a while and then they're going to go do something else. Well, now you have orphan clients that you can serve. So it's not just your clients that you can serve, but if you become a great servant to your clients, it is going to be a huge thing for you, big time. And this is stuff that you can teach your agents, and it's going to be more profitable for them. And at the end of the day, you're going to have more people that are going to be served.
That's awesome. So when you set the appointment, right? For say, let's 6-month or 12-month, maybe you do the same thing when you get there for both. But what does that look like when they open the door? What are we know what to do with appointments and what we're doing at appointments to normally get the policy, right? The initial app. What are you doing with them? Like sitting down, where do you start? How does that kind of look, for example, to meet with the current client?
Great question. If it's a policy review, I come in with a new green sheet and a new ERS. Like it's blank. Like, hey, we're going to do a quick review on your policy. I pull up whatever carrier, hey, do you have your policy handy? In fact, I ask them when I book the appointment, hey, do you have, do you know where your copy of the policy is? And a lot of times they don't. And I'm like, okay, well, we need to make sure that, we need to make sure that we find that. And so I might even reach out to the carrier beforehand and just ask the carrier to send a declaration page or a proof of coverage sheet to the client in a letter. So that way they at least have that, because I want them to have that. And really, I want them to put together what I call an oh shit binder, which is, it's that binder that, hey, if the house catches fire and you need to get out, the first thing you do is you grab the kids, you grab the dog, maybe not in that order, and then you grab this binder and you run out the door, because then it has like your passports and birth certificates and car titles and your life insurance and all the in case of emergency break glass stuff. So that way your kids know, hey, when I die, there's this red binder in my thing that, all the important stuff is there. So I try to get people to put that together. But when I sit down with them, it literally is, I go back through everything. Hey, now remind me, open it up, what kind of policy it is, if it's a term, if it's a permanent plan, how much it is, what it does. And if I don't remember why we wrote, hey, why did we write this again? It might be just that question. And it might be like, and we may Now if you're using Dropbox, which I recommend that everyone, make copies of take your lead and save it in your Dropbox with your application. So that way, before you go out, you can look and you can say, oh, was this final expense lead or was this a mortgage lead? And then if you have notes, you can save notes in Dropbox with your applications. By law, you have to save your applications, and I think in most states for 7 years. So and Dropbox is so much more convenient than keeping paper copies of everything. So if you're keeping copies of that, you can go back and refer to it before you go in the client's house. But then even if you don't, bring a new green sheet, bring a new ERS, do your ERSs. Now, if you've filled an ERS out before and you've never called them, don't beat yourself up. It's okay. Go back and do it now. If you've never done it, if you've never filled out an ERS sheet, hey, guess what? That's a great reason to do a policy review. Hey, you know what, man, I know I just met with you 90 days ago. I know I just, but I need to do a quick review with you. We need to get your emergency contact list put together. Like, it's a great reason to go back out and to meet with them again. So to do that ERS, Alex Avian has some phenomenal training on the ERS. If you need to know that, you can find him on his YouTube channel. It's amazing. But when I sit down with him, it literally is, we go through the policy, exactly what I did at the delivery. And then we come back and I'm like, awesome. So hey, have you guys gotten any new policies? Have you guys gotten any other insurance since we sat down last? Has anything changed? Are you guys still at your same jobs? Like if they have their policy, I can open up their policy, and if it's a term policy, like their application's in the back of the policy. Mm-hmm. But if I have everything in Dropbox, I can literally pull their policy up on my iPad and I can go through it. I can say, oh, you still doing this? You still making about this much money? Great, awesome. I can look at their old green sheet. I can say, hey, has anything changed? I mean, if you talk to someone a year ago and you're doing a policy review now, their 401k is way different now than it was a year ago. Like, just because of where the market is. Mm-hmm. So they may have been in love with their broker before because their broker done nothing but make money for them for the last 10 years. Mm-hmm. Well, now the money's down 25%. So now maybe they aren't as happy. Mm-hmm. But it's just asking questions, not even going in trying to sell them something. It's asking questions to try to figure out, is there a need? And maybe there's not a need now. Maybe there's a need down the road. Maybe right now we're in a planting seed. It's like everything has a season. Right now, maybe it's not a harvest season, it's a planting season. And so you're planting again, and you're like, hey, if there's anything I can ever help you with, let me know. Hey, here's 3 more of my cards. If you have anyone that that needs help, I have cards that actually says everything that I do, has Medicare on there. Hey, if you have anyone that may need my help for any of these things, please let me know. Oh, my mom needs a new Medicare agent. Okay, cool. Give your mama my card. She can call me. I can't call her, just so you know. I can't call her, but she can certainly call me. But it's and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's now or if it's 5 years from now. If you do the same thing each time, and you just know, hey, let's review what you have. Let's see if you've gotten anything else, and let's see what's changed in your life. Those, and then it's just a matter of just asking more questions. If you're telling, you're selling. If you're asking, you're serving. So if you just focus on asking people questions, like that is the best way I know how to help people, is just through asking a bunch of questions.
That's good. That's really, really, really good. Well, great. So you said you're doing policy reviews 6 month, 12 month. Are you doing them after the 12 month? Are you waiting for the 2 year?
I typically, well, yeah, because after that, I will usually wait until 2 or 3 years. Truthfully, if you guys, think about this. If you're running 40 appointments a week, so you're going full tilt boogie. Let's say that you're doing this full time. And let's say that you're running 30 appointments a week, or 40 appointments a week. You're sitting with 30, and you're helping 15.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're carrying, let's say that you're carrying an 80% persistency rate, that means that after 12 months, you still have 12 on the books.
Mm-hmm.
12. So you know that you're going to be doing a ton of policy reviews.
Mm-hmm.
So the deal here is after a time, you're going to start being a little bit more what's the word? You're going to be more choosy. But I like to do the 6 and the 12 month, and then I'm going to go back. Yeah, it's going to be at least in year 2, because then I know the next time I'm going to talk to anyone that has a term policy with Foresters Mutual Omaha or CFG is in my CRM. My CRM is going to tell me when it's time to call someone about a conversion.
Awesome.
And then the cool thing is this, is that, guys, you are building an empire. You are building a financial dynasty. So after a time, it's not just, hey, I'm going to go and do all my policy conversions. It's like, hey, you know what? You have, in 2 years, if you put your head down and you focus on building this thing the way that Nick is, and the way that Stephen is talking about this, and all the teaching that Mark Aceta is going on, and the way that Andy's coaching, you literally in 2 years, you could have 100 writing agents on your team.
Yeah.
You could have 100 writing agents on your team, which means you probably have 300 people on your team that are occasionally writing. But the deal is that now you're like, you know what? I'm making enough money. I no longer need it personally. It's not about me going out and personally producing, but it's like, but my clients still need to be served. So it's just like, you literally can say, hey, you know what? I have all these clients, because maybe you are still, but the big thing is that if you're going and now you have a block of business that you're like, hey, listen, these are some clients that I haven't been able to see in 2 years. You go serve. That makes sense, Aaron?
Mm-hmm. No, it does. It 100% makes sense. It's fire. This is such a good
Cool.
topic to talk about. I'm learning a lot, and I am like, I need to go do some policy reviews. Which
Yeah,
is
I need
really
to do
good.
more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're saying you need to do more, I mean,
Yeah.
where are we all at? Okay, great. I mean, that's really I guess what we'll say now is, before we wrap up, we'll open up Q&A. If anybody has a question they're burning to ask, go ahead and type it in that Q&A box. The chat's disabled, but the Q&A is open. If you just, I guess, have any last little tips, tidbits, anything like that to do with policy reviews, feel free to share it. But I know I'm speaking for everybody. The chat, our Telegram thread's blowing up. Everybody's
Cool.
like, this is so good.
Cool.
I wish that this call was around when I first got started. So I'm jealous of all the new guys on this call. It's really good, but it's never too late, like you said. I mean, you're calling clients 14 years later. I think that's a great test. Hey, we can just start calling.
And think about this, like if you're a brand new person, you aren't even licensed yet, and you're thinking, hey, I have to know everything before I go out and I run my first appointment.
Gosh, yeah.
Like, I want to know all the products. I need to feel comfortable. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to tell you, no, you don't, because your first clients, you're going to go out there and it's going to be clunky. And the great news is that you're going to help some of them. And then 6 months later, you're going to think back on those things and go, man, I was such a ding dong. And I didn't ask so many questions. The cool thing is you can now go back 90 days after your first 90 days. You write appointments the next 90 days, your first 90 days in the field. Go out and run appointments. And then you're going to go back, and if you're willing to go back and do policy reviews on those first ones again, and just touch base with them and check in with them. And then a year from now, you're going to be thinking, oh, I know so much more now.
Oh, yeah.
And then you're able to go back and you're going to say, Hey, I know, dude. Jake, I love Jake Joseph. Jake Joseph's on my team. He and his wife Foray are amazing, and Jake is one of the. I mean, he's a great student, and I was giving him so much grief today because he's written annuities, he's written IULs, and I was coaching him today on how to do an illustration, and we were talking. I was just like, dude, because I told him a week ago to read a different book on IULs, and I asked him today, I'm like, did you read that book? He says, no. And I'm like, the guy who's going to make 300 grand this year. And he's asking me questions all the freaking time. And I'm just like, dude, isn't it so cool that you're 3 years in, almost 4 years in, and you're still learning so much stuff. And there's so much to learn. So just, I'm gonna challenge you, everybody, to cut yourself some freaking slack.
Oh gosh.
And just know that, like, hey, you know what, man, if you go out there with a great heart and you go out there with a servant attitude and you're just there to serve people and just be like, hey, I'm going to do the best I have with what I got right this second, and just know that I'm going to have better information in 90 days, in 6 months, in 9 months, in 12 months, in 2 years. I'm going to be, it's like right now I'm not even a Padawan, but one day I will be a Jedi Master, or a Sith Lord, I guess, depending upon which way you want to go. But either way, it's the reality is cut yourself some slack and just go out and help people, and then just go back and know, hey, you know what? We have more carriers now than we had a year ago.
Yep.
We're doing Medicare. We weren't doing that 2 years ago. We're doing things now that we haven't ever done before. And knowing Andy, he's going to keep adding things to our portfolio, and just, it's, guys, it has gotten gooder and gooder and gooder and gooder every single year I've been here. And I know Davies will talk to this too. It is such a different, I mean, it's a different business altogether, but even from today, from where we were 6 months ago, it's a different gig. So just cut yourself some freaking slack and go out there and start serving families, do the best you can, and please reach up and ask for coaching. Ask for coaching. Do not expect, hey, I expect Nick is going to step in and Nick is going to tell me what I need to do. Aaron is going to tell me this is what you need to do. No, they aren't. They aren't. If you stop and you say, hey, I'd really like to learn this, or hey, I got a question on this, man, that is an invitation to please, would you please give me a little bit of knowledge? And the great news is that if your leader doesn't know, I know these people, they're humble enough, they're going to say, that's a great question. Let me reach out and ask someone who knows more. And they're going to reach out. They're going to reach Crossline. They're going to reach Upline. They're going to reach to Gina. They're going to reach to the carriers. Like we have a ton of stuff, but the easiest people to coach are the ones, the funnest people to coach are the easiest ones to coach. And the easiest ones to coach are the ones that ask to be coached.
Couldn't be truer words. 100%. Yeah, I know. Nick gave me grief when I first started because I want to know everything. He's like, just pick up the phone and call people. And, when Rachel got started, we were talking her off the ledge, and now look at her, right? She's freaking killing it. And just because she just stopped trying to know everything and went out and did the dang thing. And you learn more as you go, like you said, but those are some true words for sure. I know I blew up Nick a lot in the beginning, and I know he appreciated it. He wanted to help me. Same with Hutch, right? Sure. I was calling him several times a day.
Sure. Oh, absolutely.
But well, great. So we have a couple questions. Cool. Let's answer those and then we'll wrap up. Awesome. So the first one, as a person who has a full-time job, what is your word of courage or strategy to walk into the insurance before I just quit my job? So I'm guessing they want to know, like, what's the best way to build on a part-time while you have a full-time job so you can maybe one day leave your job and buy back your time?
That is one of my favorite questions, because when I started, I was part-time. So I did this part-time for 18 months. This was my side hustle. I couldn't afford to leave. I had never worked a commission job before. I knew nothing about insurance. So what I did is that, number one, I got really clear, get really clear on what you want. Like, hey, I mean, how much money do I need how much money do you want to make? And I know, and that's a loaded question. How much money is required for you to complete the tasks that you want to complete? Because if I ask you, how much money do you want to make? I want to make $1 million. I'm like, cool. Yeah. How much is the most money you've ever made? How much money are you making right now in your job? What would it take to buy your time is a better question. So are you looking for a side hustle, or are you looking for an exit strategy? Mm-hmm. Two questions. Mm-hmm. Some people are just looking for a side hustle. Listen, I just want to do this part-time, want to make some extra money, meet some awesome people, be part of a great team. Like, dude, I love your guys' team. I love the culture in your guys' team. Your guys' team is freaking amazing. So yeah, who wouldn't want to be part of your guys' team? Now, if that ain't your jam, if you're like, yeah, I like people, but really I want to get the hell out of my job, it's like, then we got to know, what is that going to take? Mm-hmm. So figure out what that, find out what, okay, this is how much money I make. Then I'm going to go back to this is where you have to ask for coaching. This is where you have to ask for, hey, this is what I want to create. So the communicate with a positive mental attitude is the 8 steps, is step number 8 in the 8 steps of success. Now, communicate with a positive mental attitude doesn't mean that we don't talk about when stuff isn't going right. It just means that when we're communicating seeking for a solution. Mm-hmm. So it's not about bitch moaning and complaining. It's about like, hey, what I'm doing isn't getting me what I want. What do I need to change? And asking. Mm-hmm. So if you came to Nick or Aaron or Hutch or Davies or Andy and said, listen, this is what come to your coach and say, this is what I'm looking to create. This is my time availability. So like, use your activity book, open your activity book. If you've never read, any of Stephen Covey's books, or if you've never read Goals, like Goals is a great book too, but it's about prioritizing your time. And so if you lay out your calendar and you block out, this is when I have to work. These are my non-negotiables for family. I got, church time or family time or whatever things are in your life that you cannot negotiate out of, and then hand that to your coach along with what you want to create and your time availability and your true desire of what you want to do, and say, hey, would you help me put together a schedule to make this thing work? And then you have to put in step number 2 in the 8 steps, which is work. And I know I've tried really hard not to curse this whole time, and I've done a fairly decent job, but I know that's a 4-letter word a lot of people are afraid of. Mm-hmm. But really, that is the bottom line, is that what it's going to take is that you gotta put, and I know that a lot of us have read some great books out there, like The Secret. The Secret's a great book. It talks about the law of manifestation. It's like, I'm going to manifest my future. And like, John Assaraf, who actually was interviewed in that book. I follow John. I love reading his stuff, but he talks about that. And he says, we all talk about the law of manifestation and the law of attraction. He says, we're going to attract things to us. He says, but we forget the second half of the law of attraction is the law of Goya. The law of Goya is a law of, you got to get off your ass.
Yeah.
So it really is, it's bringing it to your coach, and then being willing to put in the work, and then going back time and time and time. It took me about 90 days for me to get decent enough to where I was actually making money. I was not making money in this thing for the first 3 months I did this. And I was literally, every Saturday, did. But I went to the events and I watched people win. And so mm-hmm. I knew that, guys, there's so many people winning at this, that you can't tell me that you can't do half of what anyone winning is mm-hmm. doing.
No, so good.
You just got to be willing to put in the work. And what's the last one?
Yeah. So it's how many leads per week do you suggest for your agents?
Well, that's a great question. And it really comes down to, how much money do you want to make, and how much time do you have? Mm-hmm. I mean, so I wish I could tell you that there was like, okay, the one secret is that you get this specific lead and you get this exact number and we dance naked under the moon, and we bathe in the blood of virgin kittens. And it's like, and this is going to be, no, it's not the way it works. It literally, the cool thing is it's an equation. It really is an equation. It's the number of appointments. So you break it all down. In fact, in NA University and Advanced Resources, there's a sheet that talks about, it's an income creation sheet, and you can look and see, hey, in order for me to make X amount of dollars, I need to do this many dials, to do this many appointments, to write this many applications, to get this much premium issued, and to make this much money. It is a calculation. Don't overthink it. Now, the other thing I'm going to tell you is, if you're asking me the question after asking your coach the question and thinking I'm going to give you a different story than the person who's making money, please understand this. The person who's coaching, and this isn't, I'm going to scold you for a second, because the person who's coaching you has a financial interest in helping you win. So they are not going to tell you something that is going to be like, he told me it was going to take $400 a week, and I don't believe him. I'm just like, I won't tell you what is going through my head right now. I will just tell you this. I'll see, like, trust your coach. Yeah. Trust your coach and go to work. It's work by itself isn't the key to success. It's examined work. It's examined work and then coached on work. So if you're, hey, if they say, hey, Paul told me I needed to put in 250 dials a week. Okay, cool. Put in 250 dials a week. If you're dialing 250 times and you're calling every time you get 3 connects, and you aren't booking an appointment, and you're calling Aaron, if Aaron's your coach, and saying, Aaron, hey, let's go through this. I just talked to 3 people. And then, okay, great, I'm getting back on the phone now. Bam, and I'm back on the phone dialing. Like you're going to learn so much faster. Things are going to go so much better if you just trust your coach and know that they got your back 100 freaking percent.
Yep. Good. That's exactly what I would have said to that question. That's great. Great job. All right. Well, we're going to wrap up. Thank you so much, Mr. Dukes, for joining us on this call. I have learned so much, and I just know everybody else did too. So good. And I'm going to go start tomorrow setting up some policy reviews.
Set up some policy review, kids.
I appreciate it. You mentioned it earlier, but NatCon's coming up in January. I'm going to be there. You're going to be there, right? It's the top successful people in the company are all going to be there, and that's a key. So get registered for that. We'll put the link in our Telegram thread, and go find Mr. Joe Dukes and rub his bald head for good luck. No, I'm just kidding. Don't do that.
No, seriously. People come up and rub it all the time. They're like, can I rub your head for luck? It's like Buddha's belly. But yes. And yes, I'm going to agree with Aaron. The successful people are there, and the people who want to grow are there. The people who want to learn. Like, they're going there with an agenda. I am going there because I want to get better. I want to get better. I want to be better tomorrow than I was today, and so it's guys, this is the time. We are like, this is that golden time. This is the time. 5 years from now, we're going to be talking about, man, do you remember 2022? Do you remember going into NatCon 2023? Do you remember how we were hoping it was going to be awesome, and then the last 5 years was like, it was like manna from heaven. It has been insane what we've been able to create from that. And this is the event that is going to change everything for you. I truly believe that. Yep.
I couldn't agree more. Well, thanks so much. I'll let you go. We've run over time. I appreciate it. We'll see you at NatCon. Thank you so much, Joe Dukes. Everybody have a great evening. We'll see you. Oh, we have Mr. Dan Hoyt presenting this Thursday. If you've got anybody you want to show this opportunity to, hop on Thursday, same time, same place. We'll see you then.
Bye.
Bye.